at verse 15. And she said, this is now Naomi, look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. But Ruth said, entreat me not to leave you or turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death separates us.
Now, commitment.
This is the quintessential example in Hebrew Scriptures of Gentile conversion. Now, it's not proselyte conversion. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. This concept of proselyte conversion that the rabbis talk about later on. All Naomi says is this. And notice what she says. Your people, your God, my God. And notice, if you come into the shelter of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you are also connected to his people. So Ruth converts to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. She has become a believer. That may be one of the reasons she doesn't want to separate from Naomi when she's going back to Beit. She says, your people, your God, my God. She has come to believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. She doesn't want to go back to her gods. And here is a Moabite woman coming into the fold of and protection of Israel. And yet the biblical text said, no Moabites. Okay?
It does say up to at least 10 generations. I'm not sure how the kind of worded. Does that mean, or is that a way of saying forever, or does that actually, or is there? How is that worded?
Generations is like saying, it's kind of a Hebraic way of saying,
it ain't going to happen.
It ain't going to happen. Don't let it happen. However, I think that I want to say this. I think that it is. It doesn't state the exceptions. Okay? And the exception is unless they come to believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Unless they come to faith in him. If they come to faith in him, then they can come into this nation. But as they normally are, they can't come in. And we're going to have to argue that Ruth doesn't just come in partway. She comes in about as far as you can get. She's in the genealogy of David the Messiah.
Yeah.
She is going to be, and really this whole story is being told, in a sense, because of one individual. And the individual isn't Naomi, it isn't Boaz, it isn't Ruth, it isn't Orpah, it's David. It's all about David. The last word in the book is David. It's about David. Because this is the line of Messiah. And what we're getting is, how did we get to this genealogy, this physical genealogy of David the Messiah? And the greater David. And we get there by this Moabite. And we've got some other very seedy characters in the genealogy. You look at Matthew, you say, look, if I were going to pick some women to be in the genealogy, it would be these women. You get Rahab. Well, Canaanite prostitute. Nah. Ruth a Moabite. No, Moabite's no good. I wouldn't pick these women to be in the genealogy if I were picking them.
So this kind of a story like it doesn't matter where you come from, it's where you're going.
Exactly. It doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter where you're going. Absolutely. Moabites, really? Okay, but this one says, your people, now she makes a confession of faith. She confesses her faith. Most people use this particular phraseology in weddings. But this was not the context in which this was initially spoken, was a daughter-in-law to her mother-in-law. Saying, look, the reason I'm going with you is because I have come to faith in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Your people, your God, my God. Where you're buried, I'll be buried. Where you spend the night, I'm spending the night. And then she takes an oath to say, may God do so to me if anything but, if anything separates us. May God, she goes into this oath. And then Naomi says, okay, I'm not talking to you anymore about this then. If you're determined, fine, all right. And they don't talk, it doesn't look like they talk all the way to Bethlehem. Look what happens, verse 18. When she saw that she was determined to go with her, she stopped speaking to her. Now the two of them went until they came to Bethlehem, and it happened when they had come to Bethlehem that all the city was excited because of them, and the women said, is this Naomi? But she said to them, do not call me Naomi, but call me Mara. Mara means bitter. She says this, for the Almighty is El Shaddai, has dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord has brought me home again empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has afflicted me? Now she's standing there, Ruth is standing there right beside her. And she says, I went out full, and I came back empty. Now she's not talking about food, because obviously they left Bethlehem because there was no food. They left because they were empty of food. But she was full with family. Now she comes back and she has no husband, no sons, but standing right beside her is her daughter-in-law, and she says, I've come back empty. The irony is the person that's standing right beside her who is going to fill her up again. She doesn't even know it yet, though. That's going to be the person that fills her full. And she doesn't see that Ruth is the one who's going to be the one to help her through life and to give her sustenance and give her children. And Ruth is going to, in essence, be a surrogate. Now here's what's fascinating. She says, Shaddai has testified against me. Shaddai's hand has gone out against me. If we've read Genesis, and we have read Genesis, we know that Shaddai is the one who gives children. He's the one who blesses with children. And yet, her children have been taken from her. And one of the things that should never happen, I mean, in a world that would be perfect, as a parent, you want to precede in death your children. You don't want to bury a child. No parent wants to do that. You want your children burying you. You want to live to be of such age that they bury you, not you bury them. And so Naomi has come back and she says, look, don't call me Naomi. That's not who I am anymore. I'm bitter. I'm a bitter person. And in her defense, you kind of say, well, after losing a husband and losing 2 sons, you can see why she would get to that place. Losing those you love sometimes has a way of doing that to people. And premature death, especially of her sons. Now you say, okay, maybe her husband, maybe he was of age, and not the sons. Not the ones you've given birth to and you've raised. And now they die. You feel for her. I do. I don't want to be too harsh on her. All right. But notice this. There's a little note here at the end of chapter 1. It says this. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, with her. And she's always Ruth the Moabite. Her ethnicity doesn't change. Just because you become under the wing of Israel and the God of Israel, just because you become a believer and a convert, doesn't mean you lose your ethnicity. She's always the Moabite. She's always Ruth the Moabite, who returned from the country of Moab. Now they came to Beit at the beginning of the barley harvest. There's a little bit of hope here. They come to the time of the barley harvest. Now look at chapter 2. There was a relative of Naomi's husband, a man of great wealth, of the family of Elimelech. Now when they say great wealth, that's a little bit of what do your translations say there regarding Elimelech?
Mighty man.
Mighty man? What is it?
Worthy.
Worthy? Okay. It says Gibor, Ish Gibor, a man of might or wealth. Depends on the context. Here, maybe a little bit of both. He's strong, wealthy, okay? So, used maybe sometimes of people who are going out to battle, men of war, okay? Sometimes in those contexts. But a strong individual, strong maybe both physically and economically. And you have to kind of look at the context to kind of determine how it's being used. Look what happens. So Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, please let me go to the field and glean heads of grain after him in whose sight I may find favor. Now remember, this is the time period of the judges. When every man is doing right, every man is doing right in his own eyes. I gave you in the handout, the Leviticus 19 passage, the Deuteronomy 24 passage, a couple of passages. If you have a field, according to the text, if you have an agricultural field, there are things you have to do, you're supposed to do, in order to help those who are widows, orphans, and the poor, and foreigners. Okay? Those who are on the margins of society, who would come to Israel. You have to leave the corners of the field. You can only go over the field once. If you drop anything, you're supposed to leave it. And if you bypass anything, you're supposed to leave it. Only go over it once, leave the corners. If you drop anything, if you bypass anything. After that, it goes for the widows, the poor, the orphan, the foreigners. Now they get to go into the field. Why? Because who does the field ultimately belong to? It belongs to God. You get to harvest it the first time. But after that, it belongs to these people. Now, how much of the corner should you leave? Doesn't say. Which is interesting because by the time of the first century, the sages are trying to say, well, you have to leave this percentage of it, at least this minimal amount of the corner. And then they actually say, against such there is no Torah. We give no Torah. We will not give any ruling. You leave as much of the corner as you want. Okay. But the poor are supposed to go in there and have at it afterwards. So Ruth says, I want to try to find somebody who's keeping Torah, who I can go in and glean in their field. Look what she says. Look what Naomi says, go, my daughter. Then she left and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and she happened, look at this, I love how the Torah says, the text says this, she happened to happen upon the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the family of Elimelech. Just kind of happened to happen. Kind of one of those providential things. You kind of get the feeling as you're reading it. Verse 4, now Boaz came from Bethlehem, and he said to the reapers, now look at this, I love this man. This tells you how he is with his employees. He says, the Lord be with you. And they respond, the Lord bless you. Can you imagine if you walked into work on Monday and the boss said, the Lord be with you. And you said, well, the Lord bless you also. You'd be like, what place am I at? What kind of place is this? Right? You wouldn't know what to do. But wouldn't that be a great place to work? So he's a man who greets his workers with this blessing. The Lord be with you. They obviously are individuals of faith as well because they respond, they reciprocate with, oh, the Lord bless you. Yivrekaka. The Lord bless you. Then he says this. The Boaz said to his servant, who was in charge of the reapers, whose young woman is this? You gotta understand, in other words, women in the Hebrew scriptures, in the ancient Near East, were not unattached. You didn't have unattached women. You were either wife or daughter of someone. Normally, okay? You're either the wife of someone or the daughter of someone. It's only in our culture, and this is the way we think, that women are unattached. That they have no connection to any family. That you can be in the terms of American sports, you can be a free agent. Okay? That's an American way of thinking. In the ancient Near Eastern way of thinking, in the biblical text, you're either the wife of so-and-so or the daughter of so-and-so. You go from your father's house to your husband's house. You didn't have a free agent mentality that said, well, I just get to go out there and I get to go, I leave my father's house and I go and I live way out here somewhere else and I do my own thing apart from him.
What if your dad is gone and you're like
Then you have, that's a good question.
Brothers.
Brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're connected to brothers, hopefully, and that's the hope.
Well, even the daughters of that. There were the 4 daughters who.
Zelophehad. Yeah, in Numbers. And that's an interesting case because they go to Moses. They say, hey, look, we're 5 daughters of one man. We have no brothers, and our land inheritance is going to be given to somebody else. And Moses comes back and says, well, I'm going to go to God and talk with him. He goes to the tent of meeting, and God says, give the land to the girls that belongs to them. Okay, so now in chapter 36 of Numbers, they come back, the elders of that tribe come back and say that we need to inform the girls that they have to marry within the tribe, so that the land doesn't go, once they die, it doesn't go to another tribe.
So they were still attached.
They're still attached to the tribe. Okay, so you don't want tribal land going outside the tribe if they marry.
It takes a village.
All right, but the key is this, that God says, give the girls the land. So it's cool because, he's not a misogynist. He doesn't hate women. He's like, no, look, they need to be cared for. They don't have any, and the girls say, look, our father was not part of the rebellion. Okay, he's not part of this Baal Peor rebellion, and we have no brothers. So if we're going to be cared for, we need to have the land. All right. Now look at chapter 2, verse 6. So the servant who was in charge of the reapers answered and said, it is the young Moabite who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab. And she said, please let me glean and gather after the reapers among the sheaves. So she came and has continued from morning until now, though she rested a little in the house. Then Boaz said to Ruth, you will listen, my daughter. Notice he calls her my daughter too. He's older than her. Naomi is obviously older than her. Okay, so they both refer to her as my daughter. How much older, I don't know. Although again, culturally, an older man marrying a younger woman is not unusual. Okay? I don't know what their age disparity, but there was some, because he's referring to her the same way Naomi did, my daughter. Then Boaz said to Ruth, you will listen, my daughter, will you not? Do not go to glean in another field, nor go from here, but stay close by my young women. Let your eyes be on the field which they reap, and go after them. Have I not commanded the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink from that which the young men have drawn. So she fell on her face, bowed to the ground, and said to him, why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner? Now she's using the word no kriya, okay? A complete foreigner, one coming from outside completely, who hasn't lived in the land. Okay? Remember we said there's 2 types of words: ger, foreigners who live in the land, and no kriya, foreigners who don't live in the land. Okay? Initially she's describing herself as, I'm a foreigner, obviously a Moabite. Verse 11, Boaz answered and said to her, it has been fully reported to me all that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, and how you have left your father and your mother and the land of your birth, and have come to a people whom you did not know before. Now look what he says. The Lord repay you your work, and a full reward be given to you by the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings you have come for refuge. So he puts this blessing upon her. By the way, throughout this whole book, everybody's giving blessings to each other. Okay? There's blessings all over the place in this book. It would be kind of a neat atmosphere if we started more of that. Blessing each other. Putting a blessing upon each other, I think, is a good thing. Asking God to bless different. We do that at Shabbat dinner, the blessings, and I think it's a good thing. And here, Boaz puts a blessing upon Ruth. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind. Sometimes, and I say this sometimes, we ask God to do things that He wants us to do. You know what I mean by that?
No.
God give me a job, but I'm not going to go out and apply.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Somebody needs something and you ask God to give it to them.
Exactly.
Give it to yourself.
Yeah, so that's it. That's what I was looking for too. That's the main one. Is that sometimes we say, God, would you help so and so? And God's going, you help so-and-so. You're my hands and feet. If you have the ability to do so. Okay? We were going to God and going, hey God, would you help them? Now there is the one you're talking about where, you know, the guy on the roof who God sends a boat, God sends a helicopter, you know, and then God finally says, well, God, how come you didn't save me? He's like, well, I sent a boat, I had to send a helicopter, help me out here, you know. Or the guy who prays for God, you know, the God help him win the lottery, and then God says, you'd help me out a whole lot if you buy a ticket, you know. So yeah, we have our role to play. God has his role, clearly. But we also are his hands and feet to help people as well. Now look what happens. So I'm picking up in verse 13 of chapter 2. Then she said, let me find favor in your sight, my Lord, for you have comforted me and have spoken kindly to your maidservant, though I am not like one of your maidservants. Now Boaz said to her at mealtime, come here and eat of the bread, and dip your piece of bread in the vinegar. So she sat beside the reapers, and he passed parched grain to her, and she ate, was satisfied, and kept some back. And when she rose up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, let her glean even among the sheaves. Now notice that. And do not reproach her.